A US citizen who was radicalized by Muslim extremists and actually went to the Middle East to help aid in terrorist attacks geared toward our troops ended up actually turning on Al-Qaeda, becoming an informant for the CIA. And even though he spent some time behind bars for the crimes that he committed, he was under the impression that after he got out, he would get some witness protection or some protection program so he wouldn't be harmed or targeted by individuals that he used to work with when he was a terrorist. Now that he's out of prison though, it turns out that he has not received any protection and is concerned about whether or not it was a smart idea for him to agree to give all this information, knowing that he wasn't going to get the protection that he was originally promised. Now, the story is about one specific person, but understand that there are broader ramifications when it comes to potential informants working with prosecutors, working with the CIA, and giving important information in regard to terrorists and terrorist plots. Now,
and Anna, before you explain the context of the story, I just want to explain that at the end, I will tell you why they did it. Because as you read the story, you're like, why did they at the end renege on this guy? It doesn't seem to make any sense. Well, there's a very real political reason why they did it, so I'll explain later.
Right, so let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about how he was captured and prosecuted. Now, he was captured back in 2008 after training for months at Al-Qaeda camps. Bryant Neal Vinas is his name. He quickly turned on his fellow jihadists and began helping American investigators dismantle the group. Even the federal judge who sentenced him described his cooperation as remarkable. Now, understand that he didn't turn on Al-Qaeda on his own. He actually got caught while he was in the Middle East, and then he was brought to the United States and prosecuted. Now, when he was caught, he immediately turned on Al-Qaeda and gave the prosecutors the information necessary to capture other terrorists and also figure out, which terrorist plots were planned against the United States and troops abroad. Now, here's what he said to the New York Times. He said, I helped them, meaning the US, kill my friends. If that doesn't show how you're willing to turn your life around, I don't know what will. Now, he took part in 100 interviews. He also reviewed 1,000 photographs and helped in more than 30 law enforcement investigations. Prosecutors have also said that he was the single most valuable cooperating witness about Al-Qaeda activities spanning his time in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Also, one day before he was released, Vinas learned that he would not be granted protection. So he did get a prison sentence, he served his sentence, and then one day before he was gonna get out, he was informed that he was not gonna receive the protection that he was promised. Now, why? What reason did the Department of Homeland Security give for denying him this protection? Well, apparently a psychologist who examined him during his final days in prison said he could be a possible threat to the people protecting him. The psychological evaluation caught everyone off guard, including the judge. In fact, the judge was furious about that psychological evaluation. He received another psychological evaluation that indicated that he posed absolutely no threat or no risk to the individuals who could potentially protect him. But it didn't matter. The Department of Homeland Security did not change its mind. They decided not to give him the protection that was originally promised to him.
So as I read the whole story, at first I was wondering, and they don't reveal it till the end. So who's the one who ordered that he not get the protection? Because the prosecutor wanted him to get the protection, the defense attorney wanted it, or already, that's it, we should be done. The judge also wanted it, okay, then we should be triply done. And the FBI who worked on the case wanted him to get it. So what the hell happened? Well, the higher ups in the Justice Department are the ones who at the last second said, we disagree with everyone, we're not giving him witness protection. Why? It's a political decision. They don't want to seem like they gave someone who's in Al-Qaeda witness protection.
Right.
They want, it's the Trump administration, and they want to say, oh, we're tough on Al-Qaeda, and we're not like the softies like the Obama guys who were gonna give him witness protection. We showed him, ha ha, right? Now let's dissect how stupid that is. First of all, let's be really clear. I have no sympathy for Vinas. Okay, They lay it out in a way of like, oh, this poor schmuck, he gets involved in he converted to Islam in 2004 because he liked a girl at a mall or something.
No. And I don't think anyone is even trying to illustrate it in that way. He was a bad guy. He wasn't radicalized by a woman he met at the mall. He had deep disdain for the US government. He had deep disdain for our military. He absolutely despised our foreign policy, something that I can relate to, but of course that does not give you any type of warrant to go out there and be radicalized and carry out terrorist attacks. He would help members of Al-Qaeda carry out violent actions against our military members in the Middle East.
He was planning to, but never got a chance to.
Right.
So that's what the FBI and the prosecutors say. So look, we have a slight difference on the reading of the New York Times story. I thought that they tried to paint him in a little bit of a sympathetic light. I wasn't buying it because look, let's just go over what an idiot he is in a couple of different ways and a bad guy. One, he converts and becomes a fundamentalist. No interest. That's monumentally stupid in my view of the world. And then he listens to Anwar al-Awlaki, who was a recruiter for Al-Qaeda, and he's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Oh, this jihad sounds so much, so glorious, right? And then he goes to Pakistan, northern Pakistan and Afghanistan, and finds out it's a miserable life. Oh, you schmuck of schmucks. Of course it's a miserable life. But like these guys, they really get into it. They're so stupid. They think like, oh, we're gonna go there and we're gonna fight like I see in the movies and then we're gonna win or something. I don't know, right? And he's like, it turns out that he went there and they were asked to sleep in flea-infested sleeping bags. It's northern Waziristan. What did you think was gonna happen? And he says they got bad food like rice and potato something or other that gave him diarrhea. You're going to North Waziristan to join Al-Qaeda. What did you think was going to happen? And by the way, that shouldn't be the worst of it. The worst of it should be that you're being asked to kill other human beings.
That's right.
Including your former countrymen, right?
Also, according to the New York Times, Vinas suggested bombing the Long Island Railroad as a way to hurt the New York economy. So again, I just want to really emphasize, no sympathy for this guy. He's a bad guy. And
then when we the Americans capture him, he's like, yeah, that was uncomfortable over there. Okay, screw it. Here, I'll give you info on all my former friends that I spent a lot of time with, bonded with, etc. And go ahead and kill them all. I mean, look, I'm glad he turned on Al-Qaeda, and there's one upside here for the government that I'll explain in a second, but this is a bad guy every way you slice it. So now having said that, if you don't give him witness protection, then the word of the government doesn't mean anything. And the next person who is negotiating for witness protection will think, no, I'm not gonna help you. I'm not gonna help you with the mob. I'm not gonna help you with Al-Qaeda. I'm not gonna help you with terrorism, because it turns out the US government doesn't keep its word and it's not gonna protect me and I'm gonna die. So no deal. That is such a terrible precedent. Just think it through for a second instead of your own stupid political calculation. Worry about the country and our national security. I'll give you one really interesting example. We captured Nazis, obviously some Nazis and some high-level Nazis during World War II, and we brought them to America. You know what the interrogators did? They waterboarded them. No, they didn't. They didn't waterboard them, they didn't torture them. They played ping pong with them and then gave them steak dinners. Why? Because they like Nazis? No. You know why? Because they wanted information. And so the Nazis would get here, they're in the middle of a terrible war, etc. They get here and there's no fleas, and they get a nice steak dinner and they're like, you know, Bob, you're a good guy. Here, I'll tell you where the U-boats are. Yes, that's how you get information.
Actually, with Vinas, what happened was the FBI had taken him to Katz's Delicatessen in New York City, and that was when he decided to start talking. Like all it took was a pastrami sandwich for him to start talking, which is kind of incredible. But
no, I don't blame him on that.
Right.
They have good pastrami sandwiches.
But the one thing that I do want to say is, everyone who was involved in his case, from the judge to the prosecutor to the defense attorney, everyone who was involved in it agreed that he was such an incredibly important informant in capturing other extremists that wanted to cause real harm to America and Americans abroad. And so having informants like that matters. And what I'm worried about is not, if you renege on your promises, then you are going to deter other potential informants from sharing vital information about terrorists and terrorist activities abroad. So that is what I'm concerned about. Even though, the more primitive part of me just wants to say, nah, you don't get witness protection. Sorry, you're a bad guy. That's my primitive part of me. But also, when you think about it in a rational way, and you think about the broader ramifications, you can't renege on that promise.
Yeah, look, my friends and family live in New York. I grew up in New Jersey, so I have no sympathy whatsoever for this guy. But we got to be smart, because otherwise we won't get information to prevent those bombings. So at the end of the article, they talk about how for a while the government was paying for his hotel room as they figured out whether he's going to witness protection or not. Then they stopped paying for it. Then he had to go on food stamps because he couldn't get a job. That's not our problem, man. That's his problem. He should have thought of that before. But you at least need to put him in witness protection so he doesn't get killed. It's not about him. It's about the next cases, as Anna pointed out. Right. Now, that's the heart of the story. I just want to say 2 quick asides about what I learned in this story about how effective or ineffective our government is. One really positive and one negative. So the positive is, it turns out that they explained that in the drone strikes, based on the information that he gave them, they actually got all those guys. So the guys that he had been with. And it's also fascinating information about Al Qaeda. There was like a 300-pound, 6'5" Kuwaiti guy.
I love this part of the story, because it just gives you a lot of insight into how they think about America. Yeah,
he wanted to be a suicide bomber, but it turns out he really liked American goods. In fact, the main terrorist leader that this guy communicated with loved McDonald's and Arby's. Okay, and so one of the guys had studied in Texas and loved barbecue. And something like these really all-American stuff. But the Kuwaiti guy thought, so then why do you want to be a suicide bomber? And he said, well, it's a one-way ticket to heaven.
One-way ticket to paradise.
You know what's a one-way ticket to paradise? Go back to Texas and eat barbecue. Okay, that's paradise.
Is it?
I think it is. Anyway, but so it turns out sometimes the drone strikes work. That's good news. They kill a lot of civilians, but it's good to see that they actually kill some bad guys too. And now the bad news. This is what I've been saying for over a decade. And no one else seems to notice this, but the CIA is totally incompetent. So this guy, this schmuck of schmucks from the middle of New York is like, wanders into Al Qaeda and finds out senior leadership and helps wipe them out. Why don't you send in a spy to do likewise? Apparently they can't tell anything. They're like, oh, a dude from Queens, come on in, right? So why don't, and he's a white guy who converted.
Hispanic.
Okay, whatever, right? I can find a white guy, find a Hispanic guy, find a black guy, find a Muslim American. The CIA should have infiltrated the hell out of Al Qaeda and ISIS. Apparently they're not taking enough risks. And it's easy for me to say, yes, but I didn't sign up to be in the CIA. Do your job. What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You could watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.